Well, good evening all. It is 6:30. We will go ahead and get started with our Committee of the Whole meeting. I will invite our City Treasurer up to share some updates on the budget, and we'll be taking this up at the 7 o'clock meeting for approval.
Great, thank you. So in your packet, you should find a resolution for some proposed budget amendments, and then behind it is a 7-page document that's called Schedule A, which has has all the amendments on it. And the Finance Committee met and discussed these last Thursday, and we're bringing them to you tonight for official approval, hopefully. These amendments then also are tied into our second draft of the proposed budget for 2022-23, and so that they all come together. But I'd like to just point out a couple of highlights, if I could, on the attachment. So the first 3 pages relate to the general fund, the city's general fund. The top area is the revenues that we hope to amend, and the very first one you'll see is our city income tax, and that's been going much better than we had anticipated. We were kind of leery last year because of COVID yet, so we're proposing a sizable increase this year of $1 million, and Julie Block was very comfortable with us proposing that. So going down a few lines, you'll see the building permits, electric permits, the building trades, basically all those continue to go very strong for us. So we're trying to adjust up to what actual we hope we are proposing that there will be. Following down a little further, maybe about 2/3 of the way down that list, you'll see state revenue sharing of an increase of about $344,000. That is more following what we're actually experiencing in revenue. And we did, with our last disbursement that we received, there was an adjustment that the state made based on the increased census numbers that we had, and that was about $167,000 more in revenue than what we had anticipated. So that was a nice increase to see there. So bottom line, if you go to the bottom there on where the revenues are, it's about a $1.6 million increase on the revenue side is what we're proposing at this point with the amendments. The next couple pages go by department for the expenditures, and just wanted to point out just a couple of general things first. There are some different salary merit increases you will see that are proposed within here. One thing that the city's done over the last several years is if you happen to go down to the city manager's area, the Department 172, the third line down says performance evaluation and implementation. And basically that's kind of a placeholder for us for merit increases. So basically what we'll do at this point is adjust some money out of that particular line and then put it in the appropriate department where that merit increase was earned. So, so hopefully the net is pretty much close to zero at that point. Just jumping back on a couple of the highlights of the bigger items, if we go up to the court area, the 141 department, there's a $10,000 increase in new equipment. That's basically for the security. When you walk in the building, there's a station now where the security individual sits and you go through, and that was to pay for that, purchasing that item. Let's see, under the managers area, there's a couple of legal fees and prosecutor fees. Those are going up just based on what our volume has been. Following that down a little further, if we go into the assessing department, I wanted to point out you'll see a big increase under the second line there, the assessing department salaries. In this case, what's happened is we had an individual retire, and they had accumulated some sick and vacation time, and so that got charged back to this particular line item because it was for that department. So it's not that there was this big pay out for a person. It was basically somewhere we had to account for that accumulated sick and vacation time. So that's why there's a big amount in there. You'll also see that we had that same thing with the police department on the page 2, I'll point that out when we get there. And then also in the court area, we had that as well. So losing some people, and they'd been here a while, and that was to help pay out what they had earned. So, and then the final line on the assessing area, there's a professional appraisal services. This was a new line this year. We've been getting a lot more people wanting to appeal their values, and they're getting bigger places and more complex. So we're having some professional help on certain ones to help with appraising. So that's a new line item this year, but that'll be something going forward in upcoming years as well. Going down to the clerk's area, the last line there is election equipment. Basically, that's to cover laptops that we'll be buying for election purposes. My understanding is Jason Rotman is looking at some grant opportunities to help reimburse that, but I don't know where we stand on that. I don't think we'll be getting that before the end of this fiscal year, so I haven't accounted for any kind of grant proceeds for that. So then just going into page 2, if we could, the top area is the IT, or information technology area. It's still kind of a new area for us, and Jason's been doing a lot of work, and so we're getting our hands around that better. But when we made the budget, way back when, over a year ago, we'd undershot on a few things, so that's to help get us up to where we really are now. In the income tax department, I'm just going to point this out too. You'll see there's the pension contribution for the defined benefit. We have several areas within the budget that have this line item, and basically what we're doing is adjusting the budget to equal what MERS is requiring us to pay for this particular year. So there's a plus here. There's some minuses down in the police department. So we're just kind of reshuffling the deck among the departments to get them in the appropriate spot. That also affects the major and local street funds. So the next two areas are some elections. We basically had not budgeted for a March election. You'll see that for Department 261. So we're just putting money in there to make sure we got their budget covered, what we actually spent. The August election, getting it up to what we had spent, and then this is again is the August of last year budget or election. So under building and grounds 265, the fourth line down, you'll see it says rental fees, city vehicles, and equipment. As you hopefully will recall, the city has a capital equipment fund. That's the fund that owns all the trucks, police cars, fire equipment, this type of thing. And basically that fund is then supported by charging rents back to the different departments within the city. We went back, I was able to get some information from Tammy and our DPW. They've been doing better tracking of the use of those vehicles and the true costs associated with them through this pub works that they use now. And so there's a couple areas within the budget that I'm proposing some increases to those rental rates to help get us more up to what it should be. So this is the first area within the budget where it shows up, but they'll also show up in our storm sewer area, which is Department 446, and also in the Parks Department, which is Department 680. Then those increases will also then translate into the proposed budget for the following fiscal year. So we built those in as well. Going now to the police, yeah, that first line, that's the one I wanted to point out. It looks like a huge increase for the police chief, and again, that has to do with accumulated sick and vacation time. So let's see. In the police area, and this will also will be true in the fire area below, about halfway down you'll see the department, or the account that ends in 717. It says training wages. That shows a negative amount. We're taking some money out of there. But then if you go to the bottom line, you'll see training fees. So what we had historically been doing is taking any type of training, whether it was wage related or going to a conference type fee, and putting them in one GL number. Now we're splitting those out so we can get a better cost of what it truly is from a perspective of wage versus actual conference fees, that type of thing. So the net between the two in the police side is an extra $10,000 of expense that we're proposing to put in now. On the fire side below, it's basically a net zero. So let's see. The bottom area is the community development or building department, if you will. That top line is the money that we pay to the PCI to do all the inspections. Again, on that first page, you saw that we had a lot of increase in the revenue we were receiving. PCI basically gets a percentage of the revenue, so we're upping that fee that we're paying to them to help correspond with that. Then going to page 3, under the parks area, which is the second area down, again, you'll see the third line down, that's the rental fee increase that goes to the capital equipment fund. The last item on there, park capital improvement, has to do with the roof replacement up back in City Central Park at the building back there. So that took place actually last fall. So we're catching up to that. And then finally, the last one there, office equipment replacement, we bought a new color plotter that is basically citywide used. It's basically sitting in the engineering area, but it's used citywide. So so if you go to the very bottom of that page, way on the right-hand side, you'll see a number of 866,218. That's the proposed increase to our fund balance, our unassigned fund balance, by doing all of these adjustments. So that's good. We're adding back to the fund balance, which is a positive for us. Kind of carrying it through, I know we're not here to talk about budget for next year, but just to kind of carry the whole thing through, if we do these amendments and then we do the proposed draft 2 budget that we had talked about at finance the other day, our unassigned fund balance at the end of the next fiscal year, so June of 2023, it would be about 20% of the expenditures. And our fund balance policy says it has to be 15% or higher. So the 20% is well above that, and so we're still in pretty good shape, or actually very good shape if we approve all these amendments. So we can stop and talk about general if you want, or I can go through the whole document. And
Why don't we take a pause? I do have one question in a sec, but I'll turn to the commissioners.
Just to make sure I understood, Dan, 1.6 plus up after the income and other adjustments, we're spending half of that in renewed expense or additional adjustments to expenses, and so we're going to net 800 some to the general fund as a positive, right?
Correct.
Thanks.
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just a quick one.
Okay.
So the IT project with Glanville, that's gonna be next fiscal year implementation, correct? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Got it. That's just one I know we talked about, and I wanted to make sure I was clear on it.
Yep. No, the extra individual we're hoping to get on board here in the next few weeks, the third individual into IT, but the actual contract with Glanville, I think, becomes effective July 1.
Perfect.
So, mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we did talk with Jason about our desire to want to see frequent updates as we were implementing that, just to make sure we're measuring the revenue versus expenses with that. So back to we don't have to go back to the page, Dan, the city income tax piece.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what the pre-pandemic high was?
It was slightly over 13.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think to the point moral of that story is we're still at 11.5 right now. We're not back to, with all the growth we've had up there, we've still had that non-resident impact, particularly to some of the large office space up in the northern part of the city. So that'll settle down a little bit. So as I look at this, I just continue to be cautiously optimistic that while we're looking at a fund balance of 20%, I do believe it'll come in higher as our income tax typically does. But
I would agree. Yeah.
we can't budget for that.
No.
No. So,
No.
okay, so we're good on the general fund for the commissioners?
Okay.
All right, Dan, let's take a peek while we've got you here.
Yep.
For the group. If there's any other highlights you have on the subsequent, if I can get my pages.
Mm-hmm.
Going into any of the different accounts, have there been any accounting adjustments to the GASB standards?
Yeah, it's actually, it's timely because that'd be page 4.
Okay.
So page 4, these will look like new funds to those who have been here for a while. We have the Metro Honor Guard Fund, the Employee Benevolent Fund, and the Police Benevolent Fund. We always had these recorded on our books. They were always recorded as something called a trust and agency fund, so it's similar to a property tax fund where it's basically your money coming in, money going out. There's no budget that's associated with it. You're just basically taking care of a custodial fund at that point. GASB rules changed over the last couple of years, and so now these 3 funds we've had to move into this area, and then they roll up basically and become part of our general fund for audit purposes. So the reason we have these on here is to add a budget so that we don't show that we're over budget in these particular ones, because the general fund, you have to have a budget associated with it. If you're over budget, then you get written up and you have to do a plan to the state, which isn't terribly difficult to do. We could easily explain this, but figured might as well take care of it here and be done. So, so yeah, the Metro Honor Guard, basically, for those that might not be aware of it, it's basically we're the host of it, shall you say, from the training, coordinating, and the accounting for the local area. So we have dues that are paid by, say, East Grand Rapids or I think Community College, and there's various ones. Brandon Hugel's basically in charge of that, and then I do the accounting on the other end of it. So, and then the other 2 below it are basically payroll deductions. And then, so for example, the Employee Benevolent Fund, I happen to belong to it, so it's 50 cents per paycheck goes into this account. If someone within that group has a death within the family, then there's a gift card that's given out of that. So it's that type of thing.
And can I make a pitch to my fellow elected officials there? That's something I just may have taken for granted. It's a very, Frank, what is it, 60 cents a payroll? It's
like 50.
Yeah, if you don't already, it just would be it's a nice thing to do for the small amount, but it builds up over time.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
All right.
So that's kind of that page. If we go to page 5, we get kind of back into ones that we're probably more familiar with. The Major Street Fund at the top. Again, the first line there is the revenue, Act 51 money that comes in that we get from the state. That's coming in quite a bit stronger than what we had anticipated when we put this budget together a year ago. And then on the bottom are the expenditures. Let's see, the second line down, it says railroad crossing signal maintenance, and I know it looks like a little amount. It's just basically what we've added is every crossing, there's a fee that you have to pay for every crossing, and when we took the bridge out on Walker Avenue, that created another crossing. So there's an additional fee, that's why that amount's going up. The other 2 are below it are just project costs that Scott gave me some different numbers to go with. 2 below that are the winter maintenance. We have the top area is the routine maintenance, so just the normal things that the DPW does out on the roads. Then we have a specific winter one that's basically more with the plowing and that type of thing. We split those 2 out. So the winter maintenance ones that show up here are just kind of getting us up to actual for this particular season is what's happening there. So in this case, again, we're adding to our fund balance of about $356,000. The Major Street Fund is in a really good shape right at the moment, and we're able to still add to it. So below it would be the local street, which is basically the exact same thing, just for the local streets as opposed to major. And again, we're adding a little bit to that, about $35,000 based on these amendments. At the bottom of the page is just showing the increase of revenue or rental fees that the capital equipment fund will be taking in, those ones we had talked about earlier from where we were charging a little more to the general fund. So that's just that part. Going to the page 6 then, the top fund is the American Rescue Plan Act fund, or ARPA fund. Just as an update, we have received in cash, about 1.3 million. We received our first portion of that. The accounting rules are such that you can't show that as revenue until you have some type of obligation or expense related to it. So what this is doing, again, is putting a budget number to the one obligation that we've agreed to do, and that way we are in compliance.
Which is
as we
the
need to be.
security upgrades to
Correct.
the complex.
So that's why it's only a revenue increase of 588 as opposed to 1.3 million. So next fiscal year we'll have some more as we add projects to it. So right for the DDA fund. So basically all we're doing there is increasing our tax capture for that area up to what actual is. Again, all the growth that's going on there makes the tax capture for that area quite good. So that both of those again are increases to their respective fund balances. The bottom one there, we have that DDA streetscape special assessment maintenance district, which pays for the lighting and the irrigation, the maintenance of the Standale corridor streets. We had a huge problem with some of the irrigation stuff last year, so that's why you're seeing an increase to that. So this is the only fund out of all of them we talked about that will have a decrease in fund balance. But again, we still have, even with this decrease, it's still 97,000 would be the estimated fund balance for the end of this fiscal year. And then the last page would be Ice and Fitness Center. And there aren't a ton of huge changes in there. The top part again is the revenue, and it basically, I think the one to point out is the fitness dues, which are the fourth one down. Those are coming back better than what we had anticipated when we put the budget together. It's really good to see that coming in that way. Also, some of the programs that Mike was doing, just Learn to Skate and the public skating, that we've had a lot more people interested in those than we had anticipated as well. So that's been a really nice addition. And then there's probably the biggest expense related down here would be under the fitness side. We had some capital equipment. We added some bikes. It's the 765 fitness in the bottom line there. You'll see a $6,000 increase, and we had some bikes that we replaced, and also some weight machine equipment. They're referred to as Smith machines, but they're basically big. Frank could speak to a lot better than I could. But, and then at the bottom, under the administration, there's a increase in the salaries. Basically, we've had some adjustments to different salaries in that area as well. So again, on the bottom line, from an operational standpoint, we're going to add about 28 to 29,000 in fund balance based on what we're looking at here. So,
Commissioners, questions, comments for Dan on this? Mr. Burke.
Dan, capital equipment fund 206, equipment rental, looks like it's kind of double what we expected, almost $60,000.
Yeah.
Can you explain that one? You may have, and I spaced, and I'm sorry.
no, I'm sorry. Yeah, so the capital equipment, so it's not only in the general fund, but the major and local street funds also contribute towards that. So what we're finding is we're pretty good on the local and major streets. We're really low, though, on the building maintenance vehicles and the parks. I was really surprised at how low we were, the usage that they had in parks versus what we were charging. So yeah, there's a sizable increase on those two.
Okay. And then on the ARPA Rescue 285 funds, most of that's going to the City Hall security upgrade. Is that what this says?
So the amendment is completely for the City Hall upgrade.
Okay.
Upgrades, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And there's been no other commitment to this point. We've talked about the, one of the potential uses that's been floated out has been the Kenny and Remembrance upgrades to the, to change the intersection signals out there to help out with the mast arms with that, make it to where it's a more visible intersection from a safety standpoint. So that might be the next wave, but that'll, again, I think will be something to come back in front of us. So.
I'm sorry, one more.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Sorry, Dan, one last thing. You mentioned the positive numbers on the ice and fitness, which is great. I don't remember the periodicity, but are we going to do another look at that, kind of like we did last year, of how WIFIC balanced out Remember we had a discussion about that right after I got here last summer.
Yeah.
Well, we are still in the upcoming budget year, I believe we're
Yeah.
still transferring in $300,000.
Okay,
And I'm not using the word subsidy, but it's still, it's a non-statutory. Police and fire are statutory, so they're not subsidies. This in a sense is, we'll call it the transfer in of it, but we are backing them up financially to cover the deficit that exists there.
right, I'm just, and I expect we would, but
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if the numbers are moving back in a better direction.
Yes,
regarding
they
the
actually are.
Yeah.
So the proposed budget for next fiscal year, or draft 2, as I keep referring to it tonight, that actually is $100,000 less of contribution from the general fund to WIFIC. So we are making the right direction. Yeah.
And we were under 200 something pre-pandemic. Again,
Yeah,
I
we
think
were-
we hit the low point.
Yeah, we were 200 usually in operational, maybe 150, and then we usually do another 50,000 to put in a capital set aside for things like the roof, or the Zamboni was one we talked about, and that's actually one that we spent on last year. But I think this current year it was 400 that we did for operations. The budget we're proposing for next year at this point is 300. So we're starting to head back the right direction.
And activity for the programs has really picked up.
Yeah.
Fitness continues to come back more favorably, but we're not quite to where we were
That's correct.
at its high point.
And it's possible as we go through the next year, maybe we prove 300, but we realize we don't really even need to use that much. Maybe we'll be able to go a little lower, but, yeah.
Commissioners, any other questions, comments? All right. Any other words of wisdom, Dan?
No, thank you all very much.
I'm going to quick kind of a head nod, if I can, straw poll before the 7 o'clock, because I'd like to kick Dan out. Are there any objections to the amendment to the budget as Dan's covered this evening for the 7 o'clock meeting?
No, but thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, thank you.
All good? All right.
Okay,
Please get out of here. Sun's
Wonderful.
still out, so.
I will do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Have a good night.
All right, seeing how our city manager just left us a sec. We've got about 3 minutes here. Somebody needs a quick break or refill. Happy to do so. We should, sorry, we'll take advantage real quick. Any, on the PCI contract renewal, you want to do some background? We've got just a little bit of time here.
Sure. I think I could put it in a nutshell pretty quickly. About 8 years ago, we had an opportunity to outsource our building inspections and all of our trade inspections. So that's plumbing, electrical, and mechanical. And that was part of the ongoing development of the Community Development Department that we started in 2009. So what we're looking for here tonight is consideration for 2 annual contract updates. One is for our building services, building inspection services. And along with that, we get a team of inspectors. It's not just one inspector. So that helps us in the city because they inspect everything from pole barns to major manufacturing buildings. So it's nice to have a team. And the same thing with the second contract, which is for the trades, plumbing, electrical, and mechanical. So we get a team of inspectors with them as well. There's a set fee per month of about $14,000 for the building services contract. And that's not proposed to change, which is good. So that's a set fee. Where you see the increase in the revenues that Dan just showed you and the expenditures is the trades, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, are an 80-20 split. So 80% goes to PCI, 20% the city keeps. So obviously as the revenue for those goes up, so does the expenditure to PCI. But I did include a budget sheet with some of my coloring on there, and it shows that overall at 83% of our fiscal year, we are pretty deeply in the black for that department. If you look at all of the expenditures and revenues, we're about $239,000 in the black. Now, obviously, we've had very strong year this year, and the reason we budget conservatively for CDD is the same reason why we do so with the big funds like income tax, because it's really hard to gauge. So we try to shoot low and then hope that it comes in high, and this is one of those years where it's coming in high. Hopefully that'll continue, but it's kind of a black box until we actually see it. So hopefully that provides some background and context to the contracts themselves. No substantial changes to the contracts other than date changes. So PCI agreed to just keep moving forward with what we have. And I haven't heard any negative comments from everyone.
Zero. Not one.
Zero. I haven't heard any. And you know, that's been one of the huge advantages over the years, is I think they know how to handle the process very well. And because they do have a team, they're able to not be so overwhelmed by the volume that's come in, because the volume that has come in this past year is pretty significant. So we're happy with PCI, and I think the people we're providing the service for are happy with PCI. So our recommendation is to approve these annual contracts. They won't go into effect until I believe it's June 9th, but we wanted to get these ahead of the game this year and then just track them forward. So there's the update for you.
Okay. All right, we'll take that up at the 7 o'clock meeting. It is 7:02. We'll go ahead and call our 7 o'clock regular commission meeting to order, and like to invite Commissioner DeShane to deliver the invocation, please.
Shall we pray? Dear Lord, in honor of Mother's Day, thank you for this special day set aside to honor all mothers and maternal figures. We ask that you continue to watch over all mothers and help to provide ongoing love, happiness, and peace. Let each mother be a guiding force in their children's life. Help them to pass down their wisdom and their love through each generation. Lord, I pray too that you be with us as city leaders to help us do what's right and good for our growing community. Please be with our police, our firefighters, and all military to keep them safe from harm and allow them to fulfill their responsibilities with courage and integrity. In your great name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'd like to invite everybody to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. If I could please ask our clerk to call the roll. Our new city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Carey,
Present.
Commissioner Burke,
Present.
Commissioner DeShane,
Present.
Commissioner Chase,
Present.
Commissioner Groders, Commissioner Glanville,
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert.
All right, good. Thank you, everybody. Next on the list is the request for approval of the minutes from the April 25th, 2022 meeting. If there's no discussion on said minutes, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
So moved.
Support.
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Chase. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we're good. Public comment and agenda items. Does either chief want to speak? Good, you don't get a chance to speak. The next on the list is the Pci Contract Renewal, as we just discussed for the Community Development Department. We've got a bit of a brief overview before we jump into any motion on this. Is there any questions or dialogue around this from the group?
No increase in rates?
No increase in rates.
I didn't think so. It didn't look like it, but I just wanted to confirm. I think this is great for us.
Commissioners, anything? I go back to the literally zero complaints. It's a tough job. And with all the growth we have going on in the city, they're right in the crosshairs of a lot of them, the development and yes, thumbs up for certificate of occupancy or not, and, wow, it's a good thing, so. That being said, let's take a, motion for approval and support on that, just to cross Ts and dot Is.
I'll make a motion.
Support.
Commissioner DeShane, Commissioner Burke. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are passed on that. Thank you. Next on the list is the consent agenda and the expenditures in the amount of $263,739.14. Is there any discussion on the expenditures? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
Motion to approve these expenditures for the month?
Second.
Commissioner Burke, Commissioner Chase, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we are good. Next up is the acceptance of resignation from City Commissioner Glanville, effective this Thursday, May 12th. On behalf of the commission, congratulations again. It's exciting that we're going to continue to be represented at the state level, and we know you're going to look out for us, help advocate, hint, hint, Wilson Avenue. We'll take all the help we can get there from the Senate and the House levels to get work done there. So that being said, what this process looks like is the resignation will be effective Thursday night, end of day, and then Commissioner Glanville will become Representative Glanville on Friday. So we have made sure we've crossed T's and dotted I's with the legality of it, and so she is serving as City Commissioner through Thursday night yet. Any discussion on this? Any comments, feedback?
Congratulations.
Commissioner Burke?
Congratulations. Very proud of you.
Yep.
Congrats.
All right.
I'm going to miss sitting next to you. You've been an inspiration. I think you've inspired us all to be better representatives of our community.
Glad we'll continue to have a Walker resident representing us in Lansing, so congratulations.
So, good. We're excited for her. If there's no further discussion on this, and probably Commissioner Glanville will have you recuse yourself on the vote on this one. We'll have the commissioners, if there's a motion for approval and support, I'll take those.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner DeShane. Commissioner Gilbert, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed? All right, you're on the hook through Thursday night yet. Yeah. What just happened? I'm out. Oh, it's all good. Yes, it's all good. Nope, I didn't hear a thing. So next on the list, we'll come back to comments in a second on that. Next on the list is Resolution 22-631 to amend the City of Walker fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. And if we can't say it enough, thank you again to Dan for the foresight he has. And I know sometimes the way that we do the vehicle usage, the rentals, the way that we account, we always seem to come through our audits. We always come through our audits, and just with shining and gleaming. And but we also come out to definitely in the for far back as I can remember in a really good spot financially. So I want to give him a ton of credit for the direction he leads us there. So that being said, any discussion on the budget items? I want to make sure. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Groders. Commissioner Chase. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, you could vote on that one, so you're good. Any other public comments? Seeing nobody in the public, we'll go to Commissioner and City Manager comments. I'm actually going to ask Commissioner Glanville to go last. I'm going to defer for the evening. I will have no comments and give her the stage for me, but taking my time up. So, Assistant City Manager. Commissioner Burke.
I had the opportunity to go to Senior Neighbors Luncheon at Meyer Garden last week. Great event, great fundraiser, really interesting to see how we're moving forward in the community and how everybody's getting back to their facilities for senior neighbors in the 5 locations around the area here post-COVID. So very encouraging. Thanks.
I attended the Finance Committee meeting last Thursday, and again, I can't say enough what a great job our department does putting this together, and they listen to all the suggestions that we've given and make it so understandable for us to all walk through. So greatly appreciate everything they do.
Thank you. Commissioner Chase?
We had a ZBA meeting 2 weeks ago, and for the truck school, which we denied. And then we had a ordinance subcommittee on Wednesday, which had really positive feedback for our signing ordinances and are continuing to move forward with that process.
Thank you. Commissioner Groders?
I had the privilege of working the election last Tuesday. Kudos to our clerk's office. You guys did a fabulous job. Everything went very well. It was kind of a steady pace all day. I was really pleased. Wasn't sure that we would have that, that much to keep us busy, but it was really steady all day. So everything went well, no glitches, no difficult situations, and very successful election.
Thank you.
For me, zoning ordinance subcommittee continues to be hard at work, and we're trying to make sure that we're covering all of our bases. So as we go through that process, we'll continue to keep a watchful eye to all the changes that we experience a need for, especially at the planning commission level, where we continue to, we've always had different issues pop up there that need to continue to be on the forefront as we're making those changes. We did have a planning commission meeting on Wednesday night, and it was surprisingly short. We were able to get the rock interface project done, the Laker Line station approved, and last but not least, the Waterford Village project moving forward. So big day, but happy to have that off the plate moving forward. And that's it for me.
Real quick before I turn the floor over to Commissioner Glanville, the May 16th Commission work session, unless I don't think we are having a meeting that evening. We are, however, having an open house from 4:36. I know what's going on social media today. The signs are out by the bridge for the residents down there on both sides of the bridge for the open house. We'll make sure that we get the public traction with that this week of the notification, but I'd encourage the commissioners to make sure on social media to share that if you could, please, and let's get a good audience in here. It's obviously there's some changes coming there that are impactful. So, all right. Yes. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I can't forget our clerks. I'll go to our deputy clerk first.
So just to let you guys know, we did have to move passports to by appointment only because we are down to one passport agent in the office.
Is that available online that they can make the appointment?
We are working towards that so that they can actually book appointments by the website. However, as of right now, it's by calling into the clerk's office.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And to our new clerk, no comments. All right, Commissioner Glanville, the floor is yours, and I think it would be probably honorific for you to, when you are done with your comments, and to make the motion for adjournment for the last meeting. Fair enough? All right, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. And this might shock you a little bit, but I think I'm going to keep it brief. So, I do want to say, for those of you who are keeping track of the Parks and Rec Committee, just as a little matter of business, we have decided to reschedule the meeting for tomorrow, hopefully into earlier next week, but it looks like Monday's off the list of potential days. So stay tuned. I'm really excited about, again, the work that we've done there, and that's going to include that whole audit process and then looking at the RFP that Frank has helped put together for the consultant that will be leading up the master plan. So and I think that's it for like city business for me, although I can segue from there into I just want to say thank you, of course, to all of you. My experience here on the Walker City Commission has been, just something that I've felt motivated and inspired, and by all of you on some level at some point. And I just want to say thank you to our city staff who has welcomed me with open arms. I always enjoy coming into the city and hope to continue to be a frequent visitor. you know, and just make the rounds. It's always nice to come in and chat and hear what's going on and on all the things. And I'm just impressed with the professionalism that we have here at Walker. You know, it's really very well run. And so thank you to everyone, our two chiefs in particular here that are sitting here and run some of our larger, more public-facing departments. I'm really pleased to see how those are coming together and the movement we're making in some of those areas. So, you know, I want to thank Mayor Carey for the opportunity to serve on multiple committees. I never thought I would learn anything about mineral mining, but here I am. Yeah, I have my.
Good point.
You know, I've learned to read topo maps. I learned a lot about, you know, how traffic is funded and you know, what we have to consider that with the road funding. You know, waste to energy. I spent a little time on finance, and the committee that I'm the most proud of really is Parks and Rec, and the opportunity to bring that back to life. And I hope that will be a legacy that I can leave behind with the city. And that said, I do plan to stay engaged with that committee as a resident. So especially through this first year as we're getting things off the ground, you know, as state money might start coming in, I'll have to, you know, reassess that. But definitely, as you know, Parks and Trails are a passion of mine, and I plan to stay as engaged with that as possible. And finally, just thanks to the community of Walker. I mean, this started a few years ago for me with the Citizens of Walker Facebook page, which, you know, brought the community together for better or worse across a variety of areas. But I think it's been maintained really well and has become a voice, you know, for the community. So proud of that work. And that kind of got me, you know, on this path. So thank you all again for the motivation and the inspiration for the work that I was able to do. And hopefully, as Commissioner Groder said, I leave a bit behind that helps us move forward still as a city. And then, you know, it's not goodbye.
Yeah.
Just gonna have a different, I'm gonna have an office. So there's that. So thank you all. And with that, I would like to call for the adjournment for this evening.
Do we have support?
Support.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, we stand adjourned.